All right, so we're going to talk about how to properly do a stationary lunge. The rules of the lunge applies to all lunges, but it's important to know how to properly set it up every time you're going to do the exercise. So whenever we start, I always like to start from the bottom up. So when you start off with the lunge, you always want to start off with the bottom up. It's going to make it a little bit more uncomfortable on the knee. You can start with a pad here below to make it a little bit more comfortable. That's okay as well. But to give you an example, okay, you want your ankle to be right below the knee. So almost at a 90-degree angle where you feel comfortable, okay? So you don't want it to be too close to you where your knee's up front. It's okay, that's not bad, but it is going to create more pressure on the knee. So right underneath it works fine, right? Your knee that's touching the floor, you want the knee, the hip, and the shoulders to be straight. So you don't want to be leaning forward, okay? Once again, that's not necessarily bad. It's just a different exercise that might cause more pressure on the knees. So hips forward on top of the knee and in line with the shoulders. And then the back toe, you want that to be bent. You can see my back toe is nice and bent. So starting off hips, knees, shoulders in line, knee and ankles in line, and this is the position, okay? So that's the lineup position, all right? And you're gonna come down, gently touch the ground, come up, all right? Down, gently touch the ground, coming up. Couple things, you might wanna switch this leg a little bit more out wide. That's something I like to do. I recommend because being too straight, you might lose your balance a little bit. So bring that foot a little bit out wider so that way you have a little bit more stability when you're doing the motion. So once again, coming down, gently touching, coming up. Couple mistakes is that we do the lunges in different ranges of motion, too fast or too slow. So you want to make sure it's nice and slow on the way down, nice and slow on the way up. Another thing is you want to make sure it's the same range. So if you're going to do partial lunges where it's half, always make sure it's nice and half. But the key is to come all the way down, gentle touch, and up. Once you're done with that, you can then once again start from the ground up, nice and aligned, bringing that leg a little bit out wide, and then you can come up. Coming down where that knee gently touches the ground, and then back up. So whenever you do the stationary lunge, you always want to make sure you come back to your center point, right? So I showed you how to get that nice degree of flexion in the knees, so coming down till you touch the ground. But whenever you come up, right, you want to come up to your stationary point, right? So you come back, gently touch the ground, come up to your center of gravity, right? So that's the big key with the stationary lunge. If you just hold the lunge back here, there's nothing wrong with it. This is a split squat. That's a different exercise. So for the stationary lunge, you want to bring that foot back out to the sides a little bit. Keep that foot up, coming down, touch the ground, and coming up. All right. Always try to make sure that you come back on that same spot. So if you want to mark it with a little piece of tape, you can keep your foot there or your shoe there. Something to mark it is also very helpful, right? So bringing that foot back, down, coming up, back, down, coming up. I want to make sure that you are doing it one leg at a time before you switch legs. That way you're going to make sure you get the most benefit from that one leg before you switch. Another thing that's very important is it's okay to rest between using the legs. This is an exercise that's going to make you tired. You're going to be breathing heavy. You're going to be forcing the muscles to work. So once you're done with one leg, rest for about 30 seconds to a minute and then do the other leg afterward.